The wind was cold. It wasn't the kind of cold that stings the skin. It was deeper, like something reaching inside your bones and whispering, "You don't belong here." Commander Rylus stepped off the shuttle and looked around. Irixon 9 was supposed to be a dead planet. No signs of life, no plants, no people, nothing, just old ruins and silence. And yet, he had been sent here, alone. The mission was simple, or so they told him. Investigate strange signals coming from Irixon 9. Do not engage, unless necessary. But Rylus knew better. Strange signals always meant trouble. He walked forward, his boots sinking slightly into the dusty ground. The sky above was violet, and the sun was red, like a bleeding wound in the sky. Around him were broken towers made of stone and crystal, ancient, alien, and forgotten. He turned on his scanner. It beeped once, then died. No signal. He muttered. As he moved deeper into the ruins, something caught his eye. A figure. She stood completely still, like a statue, a young alien girl with silver skin that shimmered in the light and eyes that glowed softly like twin moons. Her white dress flowed even though there was no wind. She wasn't holding a weapon. She wasn't afraid. She was just watching him. Rylus raised his rifle slowly. Identify yourself. The girl tilted her head and smiled. You're the one they sent? She asked. Her voice was soft, but it echoed in his head like it wasn't coming from her mouth. Yes, he said. I'm Commander Rylus, human military. Are you in need of help? She took a step forward. You came because of the signals, didn't you? He nodded. Then you've already begun, she whispered. Come, the test starts now. Before he could respond, she turned and walked into the ruins. Rylus followed, confused but alert. Every part of his training screamed trap. But something about her voice, her calmness, it pulled him in. Like she already knew him. Like she was expecting him. They entered a large circular chamber beneath the ruins. Crystals glowed faintly on the walls. In the center was a spiral staircase going down, into the dark. I need answers, Rylus said. What test? Who are you? She turned to him and said only one thing. If you survive, I'll tell you everything. Then she vanished into thin air. Damn it, Rylus muttered. He took a deep breath and began to descend the stairs. The air changed the deeper he went. It got heavier. Not like gravity, but like pressure, as if the walls themselves were watching him. The stairway opened into a long hallway with strange markings glowing softly on the walls. His scanner was still dead. His comms were jammed. He was completely alone until he wasn't. Ahead of him stood a door. Not made of stone or metal, but light. A door made of blue light, pulsing like a heartbeat. He stepped closer, and the markings on the walls lit up brighter. Then, the door spoke. A voice, not hers, but something older, deeper, louder. Human, to pass you must step through without fear. Rylus felt his heartbeat quicken. He gritted his teeth, raised his rifle, and stepped through. The world turned black. He blinked. Suddenly, he was standing in a field. Grass under his feet. Blue sky above. Birds chirping. It looked like Earth. His childhood home stood nearby. His little sister, Alina, came running toward him. She looked just like she had before she died in that shuttle crash 15 years ago. Rylus, she shouted, laughing. Come play with me. He froze. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Alina tugged his hand. Don't you remember this day? You promised you'd push me on the swing. His hands began to shake. This is fake, he whispered. Suddenly, the sky turned dark. The house caught fire. Alina's face twisted in pain. Why did you let me die? She screamed. Rylus fell to his knees, eyes wide. No, I tried to save you. A voice echoed again. To know the future, one must face the past, and then everything shattered like glass. He was back in the hallway, panting, sweating on the floor. The light door was gone. Standing ahead of him now was the alien girl. She looked at him with soft eyes. You did not run. Most do. Rylus stood slowly. What was that, some kind of mind trap? She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked deeper into the ruins. Rylus followed again. He didn't understand what was happening. He didn't know who she was or why he was being tested. But one thing was clear. This was no ordinary mission. This was a trial, and he was being watched. From the shadows above, ancient eyes stared down, whispering in a language older than stars. The human has begun. Darkness. Not just around him, but inside him. Commander Rylus floated in a black space. He couldn't feel his body. No floor, no ceiling, no sound. Only one thing remained: his thoughts. Then suddenly, he was no longer alone. From the shadows, memories began to rise. They weren't just images, they felt real, they smelled real. Every part of him screamed, "This is happening again." He stood in a metal hallway, the ship was burning, red alarms flashing. Screams. He ran forward. "Rylus, help us!" It was his old unit, his friends, trapped behind a blast door. The fire behind them was rising. The heat burned his skin. He reached for the controls, but they were dead. His fingers shook. No, not again. He slammed his fists into the panel. The door didn't open. He heard their screams, until it went silent. The hallway was empty. He dropped to his knees. Then he heard her voice, calm, distant, inside his mind. You couldn't save them. But what did you learn? Rylus looked around, confused. This isn't real. You're messing with my head. The voice didn't answer. Instead, the hallway vanished. He was now on a battlefield. Dust, blood, and laser fire all around. But this time, it wasn't a memory. It was a test. He held a weapon. Across from him were enemies. But they weren't aliens. They were copies of himself. Clones. Each one had his face, his scars, his voice, and they moved like him too. Your worst enemy is not out there, the voice whispered. It is what hides within. One clone stepped forward and growled. You blame yourself for every loss. You pretend you're strong, but you're weak. Another clone laughed. You fight because you're afraid of being forgotten. They all raised their weapons. Rylus aimed back. He pulled the trigger. Nothing. His gun was jammed. They fired. But instead of pain, he was swallowed by white light. Now he was sitting in a quiet room, a small table, a single chair, and across from him sat the alien girl. But now she looked more human, like a reflection of someone he lost. Her eyes were gentle, her hair was gold. Do you know why you're here? She asked softly. He clenched his fists. You're testing me, torturing me. She shook her head. No. I'm showing you your own walls. If you cannot face your truth, you cannot hold mine. He looked down. What do you want from me? The girl stood. You're the first human to reach this stage. Others broke. Others screamed. You held on. She leaned closer and whispered, but this is not the end. Suddenly she touched his forehead, and the pain returned. His mind split open like a cracked screen. He saw images, not his own, hers. He saw a war that shattered suns, a people made of light and crystal, once proud, now extinct. He saw her, Veltharia, standing before billions as their last guardian, the one chosen to carry the memory of her race. He saw her fall in battle. He saw her crawl into the ruins of Irixon 9, broken, alone, and become something more than flesh. I became the final test, her voice echoed. And you are the last attempt. Suddenly, Rylus snapped back to reality. He was lying on a stone floor. His armor was cracked. His hands were bleeding. But he was alive. Standing in front of him was the girl, Veltharia. But this time, she was glowing faintly like her body was made of stars. You passed, she said quietly. He groaned, sitting up. Past what? What was all that? She looked sad now. That was your mind. That was your guilt. And still, you didn't fall. Rylus looked around. The chamber was fading, the walls became glass. Above him, stars swirled like rivers of fire. Then she said the words that would change his life. You've passed my test, human. She stepped closer. Her voice changed, no longer soft. It became layered, like many voices speaking as one. Now witness my true form. And with that, Veltharia closed her eyes and began to transform. Her body shimmered. Her skin cracked like crystal breaking open. Light poured out from within her. Wings made of galaxies burst from her back. Her face vanished behind a glowing mask of ancient energy. Rylus stared, frozen. His rifle fell from his hands. This wasn't just an alien girl. This wasn't just a test. This was a being beyond anything human science had ever dreamed, and she had chosen him. The ground beneath Commander Rylus cracked. He barely had time to breathe before the floor split open like a mouth swallowing him whole. He fell. Not through stone or tunnel, but through a storm of light and fire. His body slammed onto hot ground. The heat was unbearable. His skin sizzled through the armor. Ash rained from above. He rolled over, coughing, blinking at the sky. It wasn't the purple sky of Irixon 9 anymore. It was red, burning, alive. Above him floated flaming rocks. Giant orbs of lava circled slowly in the sky, like dead planets still on fire. The entire world around him breathed fire and smoke, and he wasn't alone. Something was waiting. A shadow moved through the flames. A creature rose from the fire. Not alien, not machine. Something ancient, like a beast from the myths of Earth. A giant four-legged monster made of molten rock and burning bones. Its eyes glowed gold. Its breath melted the stone. This is your third trial, said Veltharia's voice, echoing in the burning sky. You have seen your mind. Now your body must prove its worth. Rylus stood shaking. The heat made it hard to breathe, hard to think. His suit was starting to melt at the joints, but he raised his fists anyway. He had no weapons, no support, just willpower. The beast roared and charged. Rylus ran. The ground exploded behind him, as claws the size of tanks slammed into the earth. He dove behind a burning rock and gasped. What is this thing? Veltharia's voice answered calmly. It was once a guardian of my people. Now it guards my truth. Rylus clenched his fists. His armor cracked more with each second, but he stood up. No beast is stronger than me, he whispered. He ran straight at the monster. As he neared it, the creature opened its mouth, and a blast of fire shot out like a cannon. He dove beneath. It rolled through the ash and grabbed a shard of glowing metal from the ground. His instincts kicked in. The shard became his weapon. He slashed across the creature's leg. The flame hissed. The beast screamed and staggered. But then, it did something strange. It knelt. The fire didn't stop. The heat didn't fade. But the creature dropped to its knees in front of him. Its golden eyes stared at him, not with anger, but respect. The ash cleared, and Veltharia appeared once more. But this time, she wasn't glowing. She looked tired, vulnerable, almost human. You didn't kill it, she said softly. He dropped the shard. It didn't want to kill me either. She stepped forward, touched the monster's head. You're the first to see that. All others believed they had to destroy it. Rylus looked around. Why test me like this? I didn't come here to be a hero. I came because someone sent me. Her eyes locked with his. They sent you, but I chose you. Then she raised her hands and the burning world melted away. Suddenly Rylus was standing in water, cold, calm water. A silver lake that stretched into the horizon. Above them was a soft sky, full of stars that pulsed slowly, like hearts beating, in rhythm. No fire, no pain, just silence. Veltharia looked at him, glowing again, but softly now. You passed the pain trial, and you passed without letting the pain turn you into a monster. Rylas didn't feel victorious. He felt changed, not stronger, but clearer. What now? He asked. Veltharia walked across the water without sinking. She turned back to him and whispered, Now, the final trial begins. But this one will not test your body. It will test your choice. She opened her hand. A sphere of glowing light appeared. Inside it floated a memory, a vision. He saw Earth, his people, his city, his family. Then he saw her people, the ancient ones, the ones who had once ruled galaxies but now were ghosts. You can take this knowledge, this power, and return to your world, she said. Or you can stay, learn the deeper truth. But if you stay, you will no longer be human. Rylas felt his heart pounding. The fire had been easier than this choice, but deep inside, he already knew what he would do. The silver lake faded. The water became light. The sky folded in on itself. Commander Rylas stood still, breath shallow, as the stars around him began to move. He was no longer in a place. He was inside a memory. Not his own. Hers. Veltharia appeared, beside him, not as a girl, not as a glowing goddess, but as she truly was now, a being of energy and memory, a whisper from the past, a spark that refused to die. You chose to stay, she said. Now, you will know the truth your kind was. Never meant to see. With a wave of her hand, the sky broke open. A long time ago, there was no Earth, no humans, only stars, and the ones who shaped them. Veltharia's people were called the Alaran, creatures born from stardust, made of light, living for thousands of years. They did not conquer, they guided. They did not destroy, they created. But not all stars burn forever. The memory shifted. Rylas saw cities of light vanish under black storms. He saw golden fleets falling from the skies. He saw the Alaran, once proud, begging for survival. What happened to you? He asked, voice tight. Veltharia's voice trembled. We created life on many worlds, but on one world, we made something different, strong, fast, hungry, to grow. She turned to face him. We made humans. The silence between them was deep. You're saying humans came from you? Rylas asked. She nodded. We gave your world the spark, but something unexpected grew inside you. You were not just builders. You were fighters, survivors. You evolved fast. You forgot us. The vision shifted again. Now, Rylas saw the first contact. Humanity, advanced now, full of pride, reached the stars again. But when they found the Alaran, they didn't kneel. They attacked, out of fear, out of ignorance, out of the need to prove they were no longer children. There was a war, Veltharia said softly. You didn't remember us. You thought we were invaders. Rylas felt cold. We destroyed you? She nodded once. Almost. Irixon 9 was the last place we stood. And in that final battle, Veltharia had chosen to fall into deep stasis, leaving only one message, one signal, one trial for the future. You made this entire planet a test chamber? She looked away. I wanted to see if one human, one soul could face truth without fear, without hate. Rylas stared at her, eyes burning. Why me? Veltharia took his hand. Not glowing, not divine, just soft, simple, real. Because I saw something in you no scanner can measure. Not strength, not skill, but the willingness to understand. Above them, stars turned into faces. Thousands of Alaran. Warriors, teachers, mothers, lost to time, they faded slowly, and all except for one. A child, floating in a golden cradle of light. Who's that? Rylas whispered. My daughter, Veltharia replied. She never saw peace. She never met a human. But I hoped. Someday, someone like you would come. The vision began to fall apart. The stars faded. The silver lake returned. Rayla stood, alone again. Veltharia hovered above the water, light swirling around her form. I can give you all our knowledge. But once you take it, your voice will change. Your blood will change. You will not return as just a man. He stepped forward. His voice was steady now. Then give it to me. She looked into his eyes, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the last of the Alaran smiled. Then rise, human, and let the stars remember your name. She touched his forehead, and the universe exploded into his mind. Commander Rylus was falling again, but this time he was not falling through space or fire. He was falling inward. Veltharia's touch had unlocked something inside him, a storm of stars, a flood of memories that were not his. Names, places, voices, entire galaxies dying and being born in his head. He landed in a new space. Not real, not dream, just stillness. He stood inside a circle of glowing stones. Around him were statues, tall, elegant, and alien. They all had eyes made of crystal and hands that reached toward the sky. Then she appeared again. Veltharia, not as a glowing being, not as a goddess, just herself, the silver-skinned girl with sad eyes and a calm voice. You now carry everything we once were, she said softly. Our knowledge, our power, our sorrow. Rylus blinked. It's like my brain is on fire. You'll adjust? She said. But first there is one more choice to make. He looked around. I thought I already chose to stay. You did, she said, but this choice is bigger. She held out both hands, in one hand a glowing sphere of golden light. A gift. Inside it, Rylus saw images. Earth cities powered by new energy, people healed with alien medicine, wars, ended by truth. This is the gift of memory, she said. You can take it back to your people, become their hero, their savior. In her other hand, a cold, dark crystal. It pulsed slowly, heavy, like it carried something locked away for a reason. This is the key to creation, she whispered. With this, you can become something more than human. You can join me. Live beyond time. Build what was lost. Rylus stepped back. Wait. I have to choose one? She nodded. You can return to Earth and become a legend, or stay here with me and become a keeper of the stars. But you can't do both. He looked at the golden sphere. Home. He imagined standing before Earth's leaders, unlocking the skies, ending all hunger and war. He could save billions. Then he looked at the dark crystal. It pulsed once. His heart skipped. Why would you offer this? He asked. You barely know me. She stepped closer. Because I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be true. He felt his chest rise and fall. He was a soldier, a survivor. A man who had lost too many friends in silent battles and forgotten wars. And now here he stood, offered a future where he could choose the ending. He took a deep breath. Then he stepped forward. I don't want to be a legend, he said. I want to build something that lasts. He reached for the dark crystal. Veltharia didn't smile. She just closed her eyes, and the statues around them began to glow. You chose the path of becoming, she said, but it is not painless. The crystal sank into his palm. Pain hit him like lightning, not fire, growth. His body shook. His skin glowed. His blood changed. His heartbeat slowed, then grew stronger. He felt the universe settle into his bones, and then silence. He stood still, different, alive, and not alone. Veltharia stood beside him. Her body shimmered, and her voice was now many voices. You are now part of what we were, and together, we begin again. Above them, the sky opened. Stars shifted. Galaxies bent. The trial is over, she whispered. but your purpose is only beginning. Rylus looked up, and for the first time in human history, the stars looked back. Everything was still. No wind, no sound. Just two souls standing on the edge of what was once a dying memory, and now, the start of something eternal. Commander Rylus stood taller than before. He could feel it in his bones. His muscles didn't just move, they sang. The stars didn't just shine, they whispered his name, but it wasn't just him who had changed. Veltharia stood across from him, her head slightly bowed, her eyes closed. "You feel it now, don't you?" she said, her voice softer than ever. "You are no longer what you were." Rylus nodded slowly. "I feel everything, even the planets beyond this one. The heat of stars I've never seen. And still," she whispered, "you haven't seen me." "Not really." He frowned. "I thought I did." Veltharia looked up, and then she let go. Her hands dropped to her sides. The silver light around her began to pulse, not brightly but deeply, like a heartbeat, ancient and strong. The ground beneath her cracked, not from pressure, but from truth pushing its way to the surface. Her body rose into the air. Her shape dissolved, but not like water. More like she was unfolding, revealing layer after layer, each more beautiful and terrifying than the last. Her skin peeled away in lines of golden light, wings stretched out, not made of feathers, but starlight, threaded with history. Her hair became strands of plasma flowing like rivers in the void. And her face, it changed from girl to goddess. Eyes like twin galaxies opened. Her voice split into hundreds, every one of them carrying the memory of her lost people. "This is who I was before we fell. This is what I had to bury to survive. And now, because of you, I'm not hiding anymore." Rylus stepped back, stunned, not from fear but from the beauty of it. She was not a weapon. She was not a queen. She was something older, greater, and yet still lonely. "You were carrying all of this." "Inside?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "For thousands of years. And I waited for just one being who wouldn't run from it." She floated gently toward him. The world around them turned dark, not with danger, but with infinity. Time stopped. Space held its breath. Then she said the words that made the universe lean in to listen. "I give this form to you, not as a test, but as a promise. You will not be my subject. You will be my equal." Rylus's breath caught. "You want me to become like you?" Her light shimmered as she nodded. "Not like me, with me." She held out her hand. He hesitated, not because he feared her, but because deep inside he knew, once he took that hand, he would never go back. Not to Earth, not to war, not even to death. He reached forward. Their fingers touched, and in that instant, every star in the sky flared brighter for one heartbeat. Then the skies pulled open, revealing not space but creation itself. Planets forming, suns rising, civilizations yet to be born. They saw the past, the now, and what could be. And in the center of it all stood them, Veltharia and Rylus. No longer alien and human, but bound, not by blood, not by fear, but by choice. Far beyond, deep in the shadows of forgotten systems, something stirred, a dark presence, one that had waited for the Alaran to fully rise again. And now that she had, it would come. The stars were quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that comes before a storm. Rylus opened his eyes. The world around him no longer looked like Irix and Nine. There was no ground beneath his feet. He stood in open space, surrounded by light, sound, and energy he couldn't name, but somehow he could understand. His body had changed again. It didn't glow like Veltharia's. It didn't shine like hers. Instead, it burned steady, like a star that refused to fade. Veltharia floated beside him, her cosmic form calm and graceful. But even she looked at him now with something new in her eyes. Respect. You're not just human anymore, she said. You are something new. Rylus looked at his hands. He didn't feel immortal. He didn't feel divine. But he felt ready. I don't want to rule, he said. I don't want to conquer. She nodded. Then don't. Just protect. From the darkness beyond, a ripple moved through space. A soundless roar. A shadow began to form. Huge, ancient, coiled like a serpent, made of smoke and gravity. Veltharia's glow dimmed for the first time. It knows you've awakened. It was waiting. What is it? Rylus asked. She floated closer. The reason we hid. The reason I tested you. And then, the shadow spoke. You broke the silence, goddess. And now, I will break you. Rylus felt it, cold fear pressing against his bones, a pressure that tried to crush his will. Veltharia began to rise, her wings of stars spreading wide. I'm not afraid of you, she said. The shadow laughed, deep and hollow. You should be. This human you cherish will burn first. And in a blink it charged. A wave of pure black energy shot toward Rylus. It was too fast, too big, but he didn't move. He raised his hand, and the moment the darkness touched his skin, it shattered. Light exploded outward. Not from his body, from his will. The darkness recoiled. Veltharia stared in awe. Impossible, she whispered. You didn't just survive, you refused. Rylus stepped forward, floating now like her. I don't need to be a god. I just need to be enough. The shadow screamed. Planets trembled. Moons cracked. Veltharia flew beside him. Together? He nodded, and in perfect sync their bodies flared with power. Light and memory. Strength and fire. They struck. A single wave of starlight and human fury crashed into the shadow. It roared one last time, then vanished. Gone. Silence returned, but this time it was peaceful. Far away, stars began to whisper again. Planets that had hidden under fear now turned toward the light, and on one quiet planet called Earth, telescopes picked up something strange. A pulse of light from Irixon 9 followed by silence. But in that silence, two figures now stood guard, one born from a fallen people, one born from Earth, bound by choice, by pain, by hope. Veltharia looked toward the galaxy. They will come looking for you. Rylus smiled. Then let them come. She turned to him, voice quiet. What should they call you now? He thought for a moment. Then he looked at the stars. I'm still human. Just a little harder. To break now. The stars remembered him. The galaxy would never forget her. And together, they became the first of the starborn.